Hello, kindred spirits. Welcome to the Magical Mystical Divinations podcast. I'm your host, Southern Mystic Tama P, creator of mysticdivinations.com. That's mystic with a K, by the way. I invite you into my sacred space located in the heart of East Tennessee, where I will discuss inner magic, mystical insight, astrology, and most importantly, how to use divination to enhance your daily life. Grab your favorite drink and hang out with me for a spell as we connect on a higher level. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3. You know how I love numerology and working with the spiritual significance of numbers. So today, I want to send this episode out to you, wrapped in blessings derived from the number 3. I noticed it was Season 3, Episode 3, and that I'm also recording this on the 30th day of the month. In numerology, we reduce down to a single digit when dealing with dates and such. And we know that 3 plus 0 equals 3, so I feel compelled to start this episode off with positivity first and foremost. So here we go. What blessings can you obtain from working with the energies associated with the number 3? According to my research in numerology, the number 3 is considered a powerful number and represents joy, abundance, success, and wisdom. I ask that you accept the bright, cheerful optimism I send to you today, and that you will be encouraged by the joys of your life, and that you find happiness in your own experiences, even the challenging ones, and that this episode brings a sense of lightness and spontaneity to situations throughout your day. If you would like to learn a little more about numerology and angel numbers and their significance and energies, please go back and check out my earlier content from Season 1, specifically Episode 11, which spends more time discussing the energy derived from numbers. But in this third season of my podcast, we have been discussing mysticism. After all, you're listening to Magical Mystical Divinations. So we need to explore each component of that. And one of the many powers of mysticism is exploring the symbolic and sometimes occult power of numbers. Among many more powers that mystics use, which we will delve into those different powers shortly, many mystics believe that they can obtain insight into the universe and human experiences by tapping into the powers that our universe offers us in the form of key components that are available to us each and every day. For instance, numerology, which is the practice assigning specific meanings to numbers and using them to understand personality traits and to predict life events and to gain spiritual guidance. Mystics believe numbers hold intrinsic meaning and vibrations. These numbers can be very personal, since our birth date is often used to help us to understand our individual potential and is known as our life path number. It is said that our life path number provides insight into our core identity and is believed to represent the individual's inner nature and leads us to understand and fulfill our life's purpose. When used to predict future events, our life path number can shed light on the challenges and experiences a person is likely to face throughout their life. In essence, numerology can be used as a form of divination. It can be viewed as a code or a key that unlocks the door to a person's destiny and the path they are meant to follow, and is one of many practices that mystics use to transcend ordinary human capabilities, if you will. So today, we are talking about various mystical powers and how we can use them to help us through the challenges of life. All mystical abilities are related to perception and knowledge. Some special abilities will be gifted to a person from birth. Some will be gifted through teachings and through ancestors passing their knowledge down. Some abilities will come more naturally than others. You simply can't force any of these abilities. You can learn about them and practice them, but don't get discouraged if a certain power doesn't work for you. If, after a little while, it doesn't seem to be working, try another practice. Find the one or ones that fit. Then learn as much about your special abilities as you possibly can. Nurture these abilities. Grow them with understanding and patience and gratitude. Always be grateful for your blessings, talents, and skills, especially your extrasensory skills. I love the word extra. There's something extra special about every living soul, in my opinion, and if you listen to my Season 1, you know how I feel about that. But since mystical abilities can manifest in everyday life, be observant and look for the opportunities to tap into these powers, such as heightened intuition and inexplicable coincidences. Well, you can check out Season 1, Episode 8 if you want to learn more about meaningful coincidences and synchronicities. Because when seemingly related events occur together yet lack a clear cause and effect relationship, it often carries a personal significance for the individual experiencing them. So pay attention and don't dismiss every little thing. I've always believed that our Creator, the Divine, God, the source of life, communicates with us in individual manners, which we, as an individual, recognize and will respond to. So if something catches your attention and feels significant, take a moment and a few deep breaths and welcome the message. According to some psychology sources, synchronicity involves a deeper meaning or message, and they are not just random occurrences. But given the opportunity, synchronicities can provide insight and guidance. This means you have to be open to perception. You have to be in touch with your higher self, and you have to trust your gut feeling, which is our natural instinctive gift from the universe that helps serve as our compass to help us navigate life's journey. Now, many mystics are natural clairvoyants. They have the ability to perceive things beyond the normal range of human senses. This skill often manifests as visual impressions, such as vivid dreams and symbolic dreams, or some clairvoyants simply see flashes of light and color, or they might see spiritual orbs. A lot of mystics can see auras, perceiving energy fields or light surrounding living beings. Most mystics are natural empaths and can feel the emotions of others very strongly, sometimes to the point of feeling overwhelmed. If you would like to hear more about extrasensory skills, or our sixth sense, or discovering your inner magic and special capabilities, once again, refer back to Season 1. I try to refer back to certain episodes when they expand on a topic I am covering in an episode, but most of the information I wish to share cannot be covered in a single episode or a single season in some instances. That's why it kind of expands upon itself and builds from the base up, these podcast episodes that I'm creating. But to put it simply, being a mystic means you are sensitive to energy. You are most likely highly aware of the energy in your surroundings. You may feel drained or energized by different environments. You might even be able to read the energy of an entire room the minute you walk in. Honey, that is a special gift from above. That is a strong indication you are a modern-day mystic. That is a clear sign you have some extra special shit going on, so embrace it. A modern-day mystic is an ordinary person who simply trusts their instincts, accepts their natural gifts and powers, and seeks to connect with something larger than themselves. Their experiences are known as mystical experiences. They are hard to explain to others, and sometimes even harder to understand ourselves. And until we welcome these experiences and gifts, and welcome the interconnectedness with all things, it can be a heavy load to carry at times, especially if you are deeply compassionate or are an empath. And in fact, I have friends who consider their deep empathy to be a curse rather than a gift. That's why it is so very important to find time and make space for yourself, and to practice self-love and self-care. And in Season 1, I created a lot of episodes directed at self-care and offer techniques to help you along the way, along your spiritual journey, and to help myself. Because this podcast and sharing insight is very therapeutic for me. So thank you for making time to help me along the way by listening and tuning in, and by visiting my website or engaging with me on social platforms. We mystics have a deep love and appreciation for the natural world we live in. I see the world as being alive. It is sacred and mysterious and vast, and at times it can be so intimidating. At other times, this world is welcoming and comforting. The only difference between these descriptions is my perception. That's it, my outlook and my mood, my vibe. Because I am a spiritual being living in a human form, and there are so many limitations and constraints and things outside of my control. And the feeling of intimidation arises from me not being grounded, not being focused, not being accepting or gracious, of not knowing. It's a natural human law. The truth is, the knowing is there. It's within reach. Maybe we can only handle the knowledge in slow, steady drips or random megadoses. It's different for everybody, but the knowing is within. It's ingrained in our DNA, passed down from our ancestors. It's there. It's our gut feeling, our inner voice. And it's the emotions that accompany situations. Those feelings are meant to be warning alarms, whistles, bells, red flags, green flags, cautionary flags. These emotions are green lights or triggers or glimmers, whatever word you want to use. And those feelings arise from our instincts, and we need to foster and nurture our instincts so that we can learn to trust our instincts again. Wild animals trust their instincts. They're innate, unlearned behaviors that they are born with and are crucial to their survival. Those instincts are triggered by specific stimuli and enable animals to respond to situations without needing to learn them. So what happened to our human instincts? Well, they haven't disappeared. That fight or flight response is still present for most of us. The need for food and shelter are still present. When we experience certain feelings, we are told we are overreacting or overthinking. We are labeled or criticized. We are medicated. And trust me when I say there is a need for medication in some cases. There is a need for a label to understand that maybe we process things a little differently from most people. But in my humble opinion, we need to rely on our instincts a little more. Societal factors and constant stimulation and constant distractions of modern life can drown out or override some of our instincts. And it appears that the relevance of our instincts and our ability to express ourselves is so intertwined with learned behaviors and cultural consensus. And gut feelings, first impressions, and instinctive reactions are pushed aside far too often, leaving us more vulnerable than protected. In essence, self-proclaimed mystics utilize instinct and intuition and see it as an inner wisdom, most of the time surpassing analytical reasoning. To be able to utilize our natural instincts, we have to surrender the ego. When we surrender the ego, we allow the soul to awaken. And mystics, they have to surrender. They have to surrender to the divine. But how do we determine what is ego and what is the soul of a human? It's pretty simple, actually. The ego seeks to serve self. It seeks outward recognition. The ego is very competitive. It looks outwards. Whereas the soul looks inward. The soul seeks to serve others. The soul sees life as a gift. While the soul is eternal, the ego is mortal. Where the ego seeks wisdom, the soul is wisdom. Hence, the mystic seeks what the soul already is. The mystic seeks to first understand self. The mystic seeks to understand humility. The mystic often lives in hope and in faith. And mystics use their powers, which are rooted in belief and faith and a yearning to be in touch with the divine or their highest self. Mystics use meditation, contemplation, prayers, use these things as a way of communicating, a way of seeking guidance, and a way of expressing devotion. Some mystics fast and use self-denial, such as abstinence, to purify the body and mind, fostering a sense of spiritual receptivity, while others use rituals and symbolism to convey complex spiritual ideas, such as a ritualistic dance believed to access a higher state of consciousness. And then there are those who utilize altered states of consciousness to seek truth. This can be achieved through chanting, dancing, or the use of mind-altering substances where culturally appropriate, to facilitate transcendent experiences. I am not condoning illicit drug use, but mystical powers and practices cultivate self-awareness and facilitate a deep connection with the divine. I know I say that often because it is what it is, simply put. And mystics integrate spiritual principles into their daily lives, seeking to live in alignment with their beliefs and values. That's the simplest way I know how to put it. Most of the mystics whom I've had the privilege of knowing seek to help heal others. Their healing practices encompass a wide array of techniques and beliefs that focus on spiritual and energetic aspects of healing. You may be familiar with all of these, or at least some of these, such as energy healing, which is one of my personal favorites, such as Reiki. I finally received my Reiki 1 certification this year. I had been wanting to do that for a long time. Reiki is a Japanese technique for stress reduction and relaxation that also promotes healing. It is considered a complementary therapy, meaning it can be used alongside conventional medical treatments. It is not a substitute for medical care, and maybe in another season and another episode I can talk more about specific healing practices, but I just want to touch base on some of the powers that mystics use in their daily life and what they are drawn to. I know you've heard of acupuncture. Well, acupuncture originates from ancient Chinese traditions. It involves stimulating specific points of the body, often with needles, to balance energy flow and alleviate pain. It is considered a holistic approach, meaning it addresses the interconnectedness of the body, mind, and spirit. So you can see why mystics are often drawn to acupuncture. There are still plenty of shamans in practice, and they can be considered modern-day mystics, many of them. Shamanic practices often involve journeying to other realms to retrieve lost soul parts or address energetic blockages. It It is an ancient spiritual healing practice focused on restoring balance and wholeness to an individual by addressing the root cause of ailments, often involving altered states of consciousness to access spiritual realms. Many modern-day mystics use crystal energy or sound healing or chakra balancing to promote healing and relaxation. Mystics are everywhere, whether they use the title or not. There is a lot of mysticism within most religions. Mystic healers act as priests, social workers, friends, advisors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and philanthropists. Many religions incorporate spiritual practices that are believed to have healing properties, such as prayer, faith healing, and the laying on of hands. These are all part of mystical practices, mystical rituals, and mystical powers. So I'm sure you can think of people that you know who might meet the definition of a mystic. Mysticism offers a diverse range of approaches to well-being, often emphasizing the power of the mind, spirit, and the connection with something larger and greater than oneself to facilitate healing and personal transformation. It's not limited to a specific religion, but it can be found across various belief systems. And many individuals are drawn to mysticism as a way to connect with spirituality outside of established religious institutions. Interest in mysticism often stems from a sense of disconnect from traditional sources of meaning and a desire for experiential understanding of the spirit. I know that it's probably an outdated term. Maybe that's something that people don't use the term mystic anymore. But for me, I like anything mystical. It fascinates me. I thrive in that world. So my goal with my website and my podcast is just to share various ways of getting through life spiritually intact. Not doing things to hurt yourself or others, but doing things to promote well-being in yourself and others. And of course, connecting with the divine, connecting with nature, connecting with each other. I choose to believe we're all interconnected. But I thank you today for joining me. And I hope you have a very blessed day. And remember, receive the abundance and the gifts from the number 3's energy today. Just because it may be a different date when you're listening to this, it doesn't matter. This episode is wrapped up in the spiritual elements of the number 3. Have a blessed day. This has been a Mystic Divinations podcast. I am your host, Tama P. Please like and subscribe, and I would love to hear from you, so feel free to comment. Also, be sure to visit my mysticdivinations.com website. That's mystic with a K, by the way.